The Avs have been in free fall for a while. And when you look at why, it's kind of everything. There's an article on TSN right now about how, Winnipeg's looking forward to the challenge of the McKinnon line. They should be looking forward to this team coming into town for a lot of reasons. So the upcoming schedule for the Avalanche is as follows. They're in Winnipeg, then they're at home against St. Louis, Vegas, and Winnipeg again. Then they're at Chicago, they're at Nashville, then it's the trade deadline, after which they play Florida and Vancouver, and that ends out February. So they have 6 games to do something productive and get back onto the horse here, because they've really fallen off of it. Since December 8th, they've been 5-16-6. At the time this game happened, December 8th, where they lost 7-1 at Tampa, I thought that was concerning. It's not just losing to Tampa, it's how. And I thought it was concerning. Varlamov came out with a .783 save percentage from that game. Grubauer .867. The only goal came from Nate McKinnon. December 11th, they then lose against Edmonton at home. Now at the time, Edmonton looks like they're probably a playoff team, so it's not the end of the world. Varlamov .833 save percentage. Grubauer comes in .625 save percentage. Landeskog scores twice, Rantanen once, and Wilson once. So, it's not that bad yet, right? And then on the 14th, they lose at St. Louis, but they lose in overtime 4-3. So again, there's not really a reason to panic with this. Grubauer puts up an .857 save percentage because Varlamov is hurt at this stage. Compher, Andrighetto, and Calvert score, so they get 3 goals. They're not from their first line, and they get a point out of it. Then they go home against Dallas in Colorado. They win 6-4. Varlamov comes in. Or no, Varlamov isn't hurt yet. That's right. Grubauer played. That was back-to-back. So they had Grubauer on the front end. Varlamov on the second end. Second half of the back-to-back. He has a .905 save percentage in that game. Rantanen scores twice. Landeskog twice. McKinnon once. And Calvert once. So 5 out of those 6 goals come from that first line. And, Colorado looks pretty good. So they're 1-2-1. They're 1-1-1 since that game in Tampa. No reason to panic yet. December 17th, they lost 4-1 versus the New York Islanders. Varlamov, .850 save percentage. Landeskog with the only goal. Then December 19th, they won at home against the Montreal Canadiens, 2-1. Goals scored by Rantanen and Landeskog. Grubauer, a .972 save percentage, and Grubauer is in for the next little while Varlamov is out. They lose 2-1 versus Chicago. Grubauer, .928 save percentage, and Compher gets a goal. So again, we're not really panicking here, right? They're still in a pretty good spot, because before December 8th, they were 17-7-5. They had a lot of room to give. They were 10 games above 500. There was lots and lots of room to give, no problem. Then they lose 6-4 at Arizona. Francouz ends up with a .955 save percentage. Grubauer a .750 in that game. Kerfoot scores twice. Landeskog once. McKinnon once. So they lose 6-4 at Arizona. But you can look at this and go, yeah, but Varlamov's coming back and it'll get better. They lost 2-1 at Vegas. Grubauer .953 save percentage in that game. JT Compher with a goal. Compher's actually been playing relatively well this year. It kind of slides under the radar when you're looking at secondary scoring. Compher's definitely one of their better players. And yet, they continue to lose. Versus Chicago, they lose in overtime. So they've been very fortunate to lose a lot of these games in overtime. Varlamov comes back, has a .919 save percentage. McKinnon and Rantanen with the goals. So again, that first line is relied upon for the only goals in that one. Then on December 31st, they lose. Again, it's in overtime, but it's against LA at home. 3-2. Varlamov, .833 save percentage. McKinnon and Soderberg get the goals. So there's your December from the 8th on, and it's not a great picture. But there's lots of time left, and there's no reason to panic. January, they lose versus San Jose, 5-4. Grubauer has a .714 save percentage. There's Francouz in there again, .923 save percentage. Jost, 2 goals. Barry and Calvert with the other goals for a Colorado team that you may be getting kind of concerned with because Varlamov is back out. On the 4th, they won 6-1 versus the New York Rangers. All is well, we're good. Grubauer, 960 save percentage in that one. Rantanen with 2. McKinnon, Landeskog, Graves, and Kerfoot. So again, the big line hits. And as long as that line is scoring, well, they're fine, right? Then on the 8th of January, they lose 7-4 at Winnipeg. So sloppy game all around. Grubauer has a 700 save percentage. Landeskog scores twice. Soderberg and Graves get goals as well. And I remember that was a sloppy game on both sides. I think Winnipeg was just glad to get that game over with and get out with a win. That being said, they then went to Calgary and lost 5-3. Varlamov is in there for this one. He has a 733 save percentage. Rantanen, McKinnon, and Johnson with the goals for the Colorado Avalanche. They lose 3-0 at Montreal. Varlamov, 933 save percentage, no goals. They win at Toronto. So to salvage this road trip, they win 6-3 at Toronto. Varlamov, 850 save percentage. Soderberg with the hat trick. Calvert, Landeskog, Rantanen. Everything's fine, right? Well, here's the thing. They then go into Ottawa and they lose 5-2. So that Canadian swing really has helped to decide their fate this year in that they lost 4 out of 5. And out of those 4, none of them are of the overtime variety. They lost 5-2 at Ottawa. Varlamov, 867 save percentage. McKinnon and Zadorov with the goals in that one. Then they go home and they play against LA. This is a chance for them to get back on track, and they do. They win 7-1 versus the LA Kings. This is the game, of course, that I believe LA management looked at and said, all right, it's time to tear things apart and get ready for next year. 968 save percentage for Varlamov in this one. Rantanen with 2. Kerfoot, Dries, Soderberg, Landeskog, Wilson. Everything's well. Almost everybody gets on the board. But they, at home against Nashville, they suffer that setback 4-1, and this is where an 8-game losing streak that they're currently on begins. 4-1 against Nashville. Varlamov, 885 save percentage. Kerfoot with the only goal. 5-2 against Minnesota at home. Grubauer, 821 save percentage. Barrie and Soderberg with the goals. February 2nd, they lose 5-1 versus Vancouver. Varlamov, 808 save percentage. Calvert gets the only goal. They lose on the 5th. 6-3 versus Columbus. Grubauer, 861 save percentage. Johnson, Zadorov, and Girard get on the board. Then they go out on the road. They lose at Washington, of course. Varlamov, 905 save percentage and a 4-3 overtime loss. McKinnon, Rantanen, and Wilson. This, along the way, numerous times they have leads in games, sometimes late, and they can't hold it. Then they go into New York and play the Islanders on the 9th. They lost 4-3 there. Varlamov, 902 save percentage. Soderberg, Johnson, and Comfer with the goals. And this is a team that has never won at Barclays. Just one of those weird things. Then on the next day, on the 10th, they went into Boston. They played well. They ran out of gas partway through that game. They lose 2-1 in overtime. Varlamov, 943 save percentage, and the only goals from McKinnon. Their most recent game, of course, on the 12th. They play tomorrow. They played last night. They lost 5-2 versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Varlamov put up a 765 save percentage. Grubauer, a 909 in relief. Kerfoot and Graves with the goals. So when you look at the Winnipeg's looking forward to the challenge of the McKinnon line, Winnipeg's just looking forward to the challenge of playing against a team that really is playing like one of the worst teams in the league. So over this last period of time, I went through and I manually calculated all this. Varlamov has put up a save percentage of 910 or higher 4 times. Below 910, 13 times. Grubauer, 910 or above 4 times. Below 910, 7 times. And 910 is right around the league average. So I went, all right, 910, 912 is about league average. I'll go higher and lower. So the goaltending absolutely has been an issue. First line, for my calculations, 34 goals for the first line. The rest of the roster has scored 44 goals over the last 27 games. You can't win games that way. They've scored 78. They've allowed 114. And again, I calculated all these totals manually. 70. I didn't even use a calculator. I just added up in my brain. 78 goals for, 114 goals against. It's been a collapse. 5 wins, 16 losses, and 6 more losses via overtime. No shootout losses in there. They're all overtime losses. I'm not sure what can be done to turn this around. Or the question I've been asking myself as this has gone further and further and further, Does Joe Sakic want to turn it around? Or is he saying, this year we're not good enough. We'll be better next year when we get 2 top prospects at the draft. It is a desperate plight for them because, again, we'll go back to their upcoming games. They're at Winnipeg. They're versus St. Louis versus Vancouver versus Winnipeg, or versus Vegas versus Winnipeg. None of the next 4 games are gimmies. They get Winnipeg twice, St. Louis once, and Vegas. Winnipeg, of course, first in the West, tied with San Jose. St. Louis, the hottest team in the league right now. And Vegas, a team that really desperately wants to maintain their spot in third in the Pacific and maybe make some noise and move up to second. Chicago, well, at Chicago, you know what? Chicago's pretty good at home. And Chicago believes they're still in this. And then at Nashville, well, Nashville would love nothing more than to destroy Colorado's hopes and dreams of making it to the playoffs. And then that's the deadline. And that's when Sakic has to figure out either how to fix this or how to sell guys off and what to do. Because on February 25th, they have a decision to make. It has been a tremendous drop for the Colorado Avalanche from this record to where they are now, which is 22, 23, and 11. That is absolutely unacceptable, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens with Colorado from here. I'd be interested to know what you guys think in the comment section below, as always. It just felt like when they reached the 8 losses in a row last night, you look at the record and they've won 1 of their last 10. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things we need to take a look at, and I wanted to look at the goaltending, and it has not been good enough, but if the answer is, well, Varlamov and Grubauer aren't the problem, it's the blue line, then it is up to Joe Sakic to fix that blue line. Let me know what you guys think, though, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just tap upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.